Story challenge. A walk to the chop house. "I bet I can get there before you," said Elias. He shoved his way through the crowd, kicking aside the hooves of the other lambs around him. "No way," said Adina, pushing against her friend's shoulder. "You know you're not good with hills." "I've been practicing," Elias yelled, as he stared at the ramp ahead of them. "The ditch off the stream is much steeper than that." "No, it isn't," Adina replied. Their progress was halted by a block of bodies in front of them. It was hard to hear. Siblings and friends were shouting to each other, hurling insults and challenges. As they stood still, a crazed voice to their right rose above the rest. "Turn back, all of you," said the voice. "We're going to die." "Oh, Ram," said Elias. "We just had to get stuck next to Loopy Levi." "Sick of him," Adina added. "Why can't he just— Oh, hello, Levi." Levi had sidled up to them, his eyes shifting manically between faces. His tongue hung loosely from his mouth as he panted, covering his wall with saliva. "Cousin Adina, you listen to me. Remember what Auntie said about how the humans take us to a big barn and put us in a machine and—" "For Ram's sake, Levi," Adina interrupted. "Shut up. Auntie Hella is crazy. Everyone knows that. She stood out in the sun for too long when she was a lamb. You're ruining this for us." Levi stared at her in disbelief. "Ruining? I'm trying to save you. You're walking to your deaths. You're just like the humans, following wherever they're told to go. He was cut short as Elias shoved him away, and he fell back into the anonymous crowd. "Thanks," said Adina. "He was getting on my nerves." "I don't think he'll have any friends in the Dreamfield either," said Elias. Adina grew quiet for a second, then cleared her throat. "What do you think is waiting for us at the Dreamfield?" she asked. Elias bit at an itch on his front leg as he thought. The lambs in front of them began moving again, and he and Adina trotted forward with the rest. "Well," he began, "Mama said, after we've passed through the laughter house, the humans take us to a place where they don't bother us anymore. There aren't any dogs either. We can do whatever we want." He began daydreaming, as he often did, about life in the Dreamfield. He would miss his mama, and did not fully understand why she couldn't come, but he was glad to have Adina with him. In the part of his mind that he was not yet ready to acknowledge openly, he wanted to mate with her. Adina sniffed as she walked. So you really don't think anything Levi says is true?" Elias looked at his friend. "Of course not. Why, do you?" "Well," Adina replied, "something he said, as we were getting on the truck, made sense. The humans aren't nice to us now. Why would they suddenly change?" "Ah, that's just so we're strong enough for the Dreamfield. Mama said only the toughest can go there. The humans are training us for it." "I guess that makes sense," said Adina. They had reached the ramp, and the lambs ahead of them began running forward, spurred on by humans outside the fences. She locked eyes with Elias. "Okay, ready?" she asked. He nodded. "Go!" The two lambs sprinted up the metal ramp, as fast as their frail legs would carry them. Elias noticed he was gaining a lead over Adina, and his confidence surged. He powered on until his legs burned, and finally he reached the top, where metal met stone at the building's entrance. "I won! Ha ha!" he yelled, looking back as Adina caught up with him. She was limping, dragging her back leg slightly. "What happened? Did you fall?" "No, just one of the humans hit me," she said, grimacing. "I'm fine, just stings a little." She looked up. "Elias, we're here! The Laughter House!" Elias raised his head and spotted the sign. The words were glowing and, although he couldn't read human as well as his friend, Laughter House was easily recognizable. However, he noticed another shape in front of Laughter that was dimmer. As he watched, it disappeared and reappeared. "What's the letter at the start?" he asked. Adina squinted. It keeps flickering. Hold on. Slaughter? What does slaughter mean?" "Dunno," said Elias. "Could be short for super laughter." "That's silly," said Adina. "Maybe—" "Ouch!" She had been whacked on the rump by a human wielding a stick, at the same time Elias was. They ran into the building, out of reach of the hurtful weapons. "It's our fault," said Elias. "We were dawdling." "What's that smell?" Without knowing why, he tensed. The odour awakened an instinctual fear in him. It smelled like the fences did when they turned brown after rain. It smelled like the burning tools the humans had used to cut their tails off. It smelled of pain. "Elias," said Adina, "why are they screaming?" Elias had been so overpowered by the assault on his nose, he had not noticed the noise. In front of them, countless lambs were crying out, it seemed, in terror and agony. "Probably just really excited," Elias muttered. "They don't sound excited," said Adina. "They sound... Ah!" Once again, they had been caught loitering by watching humans, who had poked them with sharp sticks. "I'm really sick of that now," said Elias, leaping ahead to avoid any more punishment. "Can't wait until we get there. Know what I mean?" He looked at Adina. Her face was frozen in an expression of horror that itself sent a wave of panic through him. He followed her eyeline. Dead lambs, their brothers, sisters, cousins, friends, were passing across their vision, carried by some kind of moving floor. Elias knew they were dead because their tongues hung limply from their mouths and blood covered the wool around their necks. In front of them, still living lambs were being pushed into a thin space between two sheets of metal, wide enough for only one. Before he had time to think, Elias was forced by the weight of those behind him into the space. Adina was already in there, in front of him, and his head was pushed up against her rump. He could hear her screaming his name, but he had no words of comfort for her. He didn't understand. Weren't they supposed to be going to the dream field? Had the ewes lied to them? Why were the humans killing them? Adina was bleating at the top of her lungs now. Without warning, the sound cut off, and he felt her body go limp. She was dragged away by an invisible hand, and suddenly he felt the spray of water on his back. Sharp points dug into his head, and after a blinding flash across his eyes, everything went dark.